This League starter build rating list has been brought to you by the Obama Council. Alright, let's see, let's get into it.
The ratings are based on day 1 and 2. No Giga Softcore ZHP builds considered. These ratings are in comparison to the top league starters, not based if it's like viable at all. So even if something here was like 1 star, it's still a viable league starter. Overall score is not a perfect measuring system, as everyone will have different goals and farming strategies and different play styles and different things they value in builds. So this isn't an objective list necessarily, though it's pretty close. But these are based opinions, and if you disagree, you're wrong and also stupid and dumb. And there's more things I could have put on the list, but I'm lazy. And yeah, that's about it. Okay. Starting off with Ruse, CoC DD Inquisitor. The damage is, I mean, it's really good damage for early league. It's about a little under 4.5 stars. Once you get your first uniques, the build really starts to pop off. The defense would be about 3 out of 5 stars. It's not great. You don't have a ton of like EHP or max hit, but you have a ton of life gain on hit with this build, and it ramps to absurd values later on in the game. Clear speeds, 3.5 stars. It's not anything insane, but it's pretty good. I'd say it's about average for a build. You're not like clearing full screens, but whatever you click on is pretty much cleared. Bossing is 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, it's DD. You can't really go below 4 stars with DD. It's pretty good. It's not super tanky. It is kind of bad visual clarity as well. Lag, well, your computer is going to be on fire, probably. Even if they fix the MTX situation, right now, you have way worse performance if you use just the normal MTXs on DD. That's great. This creates a more important one. I have a whole video showing the difference in performance. But even if they fix it, it's still going to be a lagger kind of build, probably. Alright. SSF gear time. So even though it's cast on crit, getting the gear is actually pretty easy. You don't really need to get good gear at all. I did a test run and just slapped on bunch of random garbage, and it worked perfectly fine. Not even caring about my accuracy, really, not really caring about my crit rate, no uniques, and it worked very well. Don't even need the farm syndicate for any crafts. You just slap things you find on the ground on. It worked pretty well. The downside is that you have to farm 2 lab gems for transfigure gems. So you'll be stuck in lab for a while if you're unlucky. Mechanical skill required. It's just a 1-button build. It's really easy. You just like hold down right click. You put your mark on hit. You really just hold down right click. That's about it. Long-term scalability. You can scale this. It's a cast on crit build. You can get a lot of investment into it. You can keep scaling into it. So if you're the kind of player that doesn't play many builds and you like to just build one out over a period of a league or whatever, very good option for that. Potentially the best this league. Toxic optimality is just a fancy word for the score, newly coined by a YouTuber man that I watched earlier. I like it. It's a good one. 4 out of 5 stars. Pretty solid. Now, keep in mind, nothing on this is gonna, like, no build is overall 5 stars. Nothing is perfect in every way. Alright. Elementalist DD. Damage is 5 stars. You just get so much damage for, like, free, essentially. I mean, you do on all DDs, but on DD Elementalist, you also have way better uptime. Like, you have 100% damage uptime, basically. So, and the damage numbers are really high. It's a good play style. Defense, 2 stars. Now that is the downside. If you get hit on like really big abilities, you're dead. This is not a bad player build unless you're okay with using extra portals per map. Clear speed is very high. I don't know the last time it lost a level 100 race. Pretty much every level 100 race has been won by this build. I think it's been beaten by Bone Shatter once, and that was because Karn stayed up for 50 hours on a single stream, and if he had been playing DD Dead, he would have done it like 10 hours sooner, but... Alright. Bossing, so if you don't get hit much, it's very good. Like I said, you have really good damage uptime. It's always up. You can move around while dodging. However, if you're a ball magnet, it's gonna be 2 stars. Like if you just can't help but get hit by skills, yeah, you're gonna keep dying. Honestly, if you're really bad at dodging, you won't even be able to clear any bosses. Okay, normal pinnacles, probably fine. Uber bosses, yeah, you're not doing it. Maybe even some normal bosses, you're not doing it. You are pretty squishy for a while, especially on day 1 and 2. Lag, there's no lag with this build. This is the only DD Dead build that doesn't have some... Oh, the only one listed here that doesn't have some sort of lag issue. SSF gear time, 5 stars. This is the best gearing build for SSF possible. Like, you just do a blue gear run. You only have blue gear. You can kill everything in the game if you're good. Mechanical skill, though, in reality, it's not that high. But in terms of PoE builds and anything else on this list, it is definitely higher. I don't think anything in PoE is really mechanically super demanding, but in comparison to other builds, and if you're a new player and you're not used to the flow of gameplay, it can be pretty weird. Long-term scalability, 3 stars. I mean, it kind of hits an earlier cap than these other 2 DDs will. You have less options with Ignite that you can really turn to. And being an Elementalist, you can't get like super tanky or anything. So the overall score is 4 out of 5 due to the fact just how strong it is early. By far the strongest early build in the game. Alright. Chain DD Necro, we got damage at like 4.5 stars. I mean, it's still just DD, I don't really know what to say. Defense is 3 out of 5 stars. It is better than Elementalist, though it's still not great. I think a lot of people have a big misconception of Necro in their head. They think Necro is like a really tanky class. This is kind of a remnant of when it used to be considered one, when block was a lot better, and you'd get like life on block stuff, and you'd basically just be immortal for a while. But now the damage values are way higher in this game, because not only have players power creep, the enemies have power creep too. So you need a lot more one-shot defense in your builds now, and it just doesn't really have it, at least without investment. So on like day 1 and 2, you're not going to be super tanky. Clear speed, 4.5 stars or so. A little bit less than 4.5 stars. I think Elementalist DD clears a little bit better, but Chain DD it's very comparable. As a non-optimal player, you probably won't notice the difference. I mean, it's pretty close that honestly, I can't even say for sure which one is actually faster. I'm gonna say Elementalist DD, but they're both, well, they're very close. Maybe the Chain DD actually might edge it out because you can use Flesh Offering. They're very close though. Bossing, yeah, I changed my mind. I think I rate this one a little bit higher, maybe a little bit higher. I don't know. I'm not gonna edit it now, but a little bit higher. Okay. Bossing, 4.5 stars. The reason I rate it higher than the other one is because Chain DD also has this scenario where you can kind of be moving and casting, sort of. So the way bossing works on Chain DD is that you link Desecrate to Arcanist Brand, and then it becomes essentially a one-button build, and you can just keep pressing it and focus on dodging. And then it keeps popping after you press it a single time. So it's kind of like you can move around, but you still have to keep casting it. You also have block, which is very good for bossing, because if you get hit, you'll get like 50% block chance, and that's like 50-50 if you die or not. And if you get the build tanky enough to where you can take multiple hits, that drastically improves your chances of living. Lag on this one. This one does have a little bit of lag, particularly when your cast speed starts to ramp up. It's not nearly as bad as the cast on crit version, but it is still could be not great. Word salad there a little bit. Alright, SF gear timing. It's a little bit worse than Elementalist DD. Overall, it's pretty much the same though, because, I mean, it's still DD, it's just not Ignite based. The only downside is you will have to farm lab for a bit to get the chaining gem. Mechanical skill, it's pretty easy to play. Like I said, you just pop Arcanist Brand with Desecrate, and you can just keep spamming your DD. Long-term scalability is 4.5 stars. You got a lot of options with this, and by a lot I mean a few. But once you get more gear, you can go like CI and go Aegis Aurora or something. You can go like Zabiqua and some other stuff. I don't know. You have a few options, but the most common long-term scalability would probably be going CI with Aegis Aurora. Toxic Optimality, aka overall score, a little over 4 stars. Just due to the fact that you can do a little bit more with the build in the late game compared to Elementalist, because Elementalist is basically pure early game. Chain DD, you can continue playing and growing it for a long time. Alright, Guardian Obama. That is Blink Arrow, Mirror Arrow, Bombardment, if you don't know what Obama is. So Guardian. 4 stars for damage. The damage is really good. It's not quite as good as DD, but if you get a good bow early, I think if you get a good bow, it'll probably be better than the cast on crit damage. Like, it can ramp pretty fast, but if you get unlucky, the damage, I'd knock it down to maybe like the 3 or something. Defense is 3 stars. Now, it's a Guardian. You get like 20% damage reduction, a little bit of block, a little bit of regen. It's not insane. It will not really save you from anything super, like if you tank a Shaper Slam or any, like a big pack of monsters that cast a million fireballs. It's not going to save you, but it's respectable. And you do have the benefit of letting your minions do the work. The Blink Arrow dudes have a huge range. They'll off-screen things. It's not insane AoE. When you first get into maps, they will struggle a little bit, so the clear speed's 2.5 stars. Struggle a little bit. Mostly okay though. Your Guardian dude is being nerfed next week, but it'll still be fine. The Sentinel of Radiance. That helps with clear speed a little bit compared to the other versions. It's not great. Once you get a lot of damage, it'll be okay. Early on, it's not bad, but it's not good. Bossing is 4 stars. You get a lot of damage really quickly. It's a build where you can just move, kite, and dodge abilities. Got a lot of damage. Lag, there is none. SF gear time, 3 out of 5. It is okay. I mean, it kind of has the same problems an attack build has. You need to get a good bow, which, if you're unlucky, can take a little bit. Getting a mediocre bow is pretty easy and pretty much guaranteed with essences or rod crafting. But it can be rough if you don't get a good bow. Long-term scalability, 4 stars. You can really ramp Bama up to super high damage numbers. For the overall score, give it 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to Necro. So, I'll give a rundown of Guardian versus Necro. If you want to play the build long-term, go for Necro. Necro will scale damage way higher, but early on it will be rougher. You have less damage and less defense. Defense will be similar enough, though. It's not really a make or break on the build. But, yeah. So damage is 2.5 stars. The Guardian flat stuff you get from its elemental relic is just way too good early. You don't really get that on any other ascendancies. The damage is going to be comparatively worse, obviously. Defense is okay, still 2.5 stars. Like, you still get the benefit of off-screening things. You get some physical damage reduction. You get the new leech, which should be really good. Clear speed, 2 stars. It's not great. It's the same problems. Basically the same build. Bossing is 3.5. You're going to have less damage. That's what it comes down to. SSF gear times 2 stars. You're going to have to put more into it to get the similar amount of damage and defense before it starts to outscale Guardian. So early on it will be worse to gear. But long-term scalability, it will be 5 stars. You can get some really insane damage numbers going like, not necessarily poison, but chaos crit is very good. Poison is still fine. It would be pretty easy to test the two, see which feels better to you. But chaos crit, you can go past dot cap, and poison, you're limited to the dot cap. Although at that point it doesn't really matter, but having no ramp time feels good. 3 out of 5 for total. Champion Obama. Damage is 2 stars. It's the worst damage of all 3. I mean, it is basically purely defensive. You lose considerable damage. That might even should be 1.5 stars potentially, but Bama on its own just has really good damage. So I might consider lowering that to 1.5. It's too late now, but now I'd probably consider doing 1.5. Defense, though, is 4 out of 5 stars. It's really good. You really shouldn't die in maps. You shouldn't have any issues. You'll be very tanky as champion. Clear speed, I might put it 1.5 too, even though it says 2, but just because of the damage issue early on. But it'll still be kind of similar. Bossing, 3 out of 5 stars. You're going to be way tankier than these other two. Eventually, you'll just be tanking bosses like no problem. I think if you're a potato player and you don't mind being slow early, champion is a pretty good option. SSF gear time, 2 stars. It's the same scenario as the Necro. You're going to need to get better damage stuff. You can skimp on the defense stuff in return for better damage stuff, since you have so much more defense, but it's going to take a little bit longer to get going. Long-term scalability, 3.5 stars. You're not going to get the same crazy damage, but you will be able to become a giga tank and never die. Give it a little over 2.5 stars for total rating. Archmage Builds. So disclaimer, when new gems seem too good to be true, they usually are. On paper, Archmage builds, like in PoB, look very good. Potentially, I don't know, to me, could even be better than DD. But it could very well end up being a bait, but it seems really, really good. In fact, one of the builds for DD could be Archmage DD, and that might be the best DD, actually. But I haven't looked enough into it, so I didn't include it here. So yeah, just keep that in mind. However, it is, you will be Hierophant. Okay, well on DD Archmage you wouldn't be Hierophant, you'd still be Necro. But, well, even then. So Hierophant and Necro, those are good fallback ascendancies. You'll have good builds you can fall back on with low investment. Hierophant's good. You can go totem builds or whatever else you want to do. I don't really know the state of Hierophant right now. Last time I really checked in too much, it's just totem builds and cold dot, but cold dot's dead now. But yeah. 4 stars for damage. Damage looks very solid. A little over 4.5 stars for defense. Like from the POBs I've seen, it is approaching jug levels. It is very good. Very, very good. Clear speed, well, this is just Archmage in general, so it's going to depend on the skill you use. Bossing, 5 stars. If the damage and defense is true, it's going to be really good. You're going to melt things, and they're not going to be able to melt you. SF gear time, 2.5 stars. Getting mana gear can be a little bit tricky. It's not that hard, but it's not great. You're going to want like an Atziri's Foible probably on all these builds. You don't need it, but yeah. The base numbers on Archmage seem so high that even if your gear is not good, that it should be really solid. So yeah. Long-term scalability. Mana builds have some of the highest long-term scaling in the game. You can get some really crazy stuff with them. 5 stars there. So I rated it at 3 out of 5, but I would put it at like 4.5, but I took 1 off because of the bait potential. It's just seems too good to be true. Alright. Lightning Arrow Deadeye. Damage is 2 out of 5 stars. It can ramp up to be pretty good with good gear for mapping. Still, it's never going to be a bosser though. The defense is your portals. Scarab of stability. Portals have a 50% chance to not be consumed on use. It's going to be, you're going to have a lot of deaths. However, in return for that, your clear speed's like is pretty much as good as a league starter gets. Very fast. Your bossing is trash. It's going to be a not get hit and slowly whittle them down kind of angle. Or the more HP you give up, the more damage you get. So if you can not get hit, there we go. SF gear at 3 stars, it's not bad. You could definitely pull it off with all rares and mediocre stuff, and it's fine. Long-term scalability, 5 stars. I mean, you can scale bow builds up really, really far. Overall, I give it a 3 stars, and I give it an extra star for softcore. If you don't care about dying. Alright, so this is basically the same build, but Elemental Hit of the Spectrum. It's essentially the same thing as Lightning Arrow. Like, I think you'd even use the same POB and stuff. Well, not exactly, but anyways. Basically the same build, just different skill. Essentially it just does more damage, less clear. It has a little bit less AoE radius. Has, I think, like 40% more damage, maybe. You give up a little clear. So early on it might be definitely worth looking into if your damage is feeling a little bad. I probably would not waste time farming lab for it. I would buy it later and then try it, because Lightning Arrow is still more than good enough to level with and everything. So, but if your damage is feeling lackluster when you're in maps or something and you have a little bit of money, I'd consider buying this. I'm considered trying it at some point in the league. So damage 3 stars. It's pretty good. Still nothing insane, like you're playing a map blaster. You could definitely ramp the damage higher, but still 6 defense portal, 4 clear speed. Might even be 4.5. I don't know like how much it'll actually make a difference from Lightning Arrow. Something to test in game, pretty easy to test. I mean, you do one map and you know the answer. Bossing is also trash. Better than Lightning Arrow because you have more damage. SSF gear time is a little bit better, I'd say. Because even though you're farming lab, you get a considerable chunk of damage in return. I'd say the damage you get, if you need the damage, is more worth the time you lose from doing lab. Same thing, it's going to be a bow build. 5 stars long-term scalability. Same overall rating. Poison, okay, well, nobody's going to be able to not look at this, so I'm going to go over this first. The Toxic Toilet. They're being led by the great leader of gladiating. And in the toilet, we've got Cold Blade Vortex, Frostblade Stricture, and Tornado Shot. And in the bottom, we got the Squire Raider of Plunging the toilet. Now, I will say, even someone in chat right now is saying, why a cold BV? Because it has no damage at the start, it has no defense. Why are you playing it? Because you like to is the answer. I mean, that's perfectly fine. But on paper, it sucks big ball sack. Frostblade's the same thing. You're going to use 6 portals a map. You're going to have less damage than a good League starter. Why are you playing it? Because you like it. Which is fine. But it still is licking the shaft of Templar's big, girthy meat stick. Alright. Poison SRS Necro. 4 out of 5 stars for damage. Now you might be saying, you can't League start this. Which I actually thought this too until a couple hours ago. But found out with the new Necro node, it converts half of your SRS damage, like their base damage, into chaos, which is really, really huge. That was the problem with starting it before. You have no base chaos damage. So you needed the sword United in Dream to get your base damage. Now that is no longer the case. Now you get base damage, it's half of it, it's 50%, but it should still be enough based on the numbers I did quick looking in PoE. I'd say there's a slight bait potential here, but it's probably good. I'd rate it like a 5% bait potential. But it more than likely overwhelmingly works. So you'd have to sock it in poison chance now. Because you won't have the jewels and you need to get some poison chance and using the poison gem. You should still have good damage for like the respective gear you have. And then it still scales up to dot cap later. Defense, it's the same issue as the other Necro build I went over. It's like 2.5 stars. It's nothing crazy, it's nothing bad, it's nothing good. It's better than it was before with the leech. But that's not really the issue Necro had before. The issue Necro had before was like, if you get hit by something big, you're dead. The leech doesn't fix that, but it is better than before. Clear speed, it's okay. I would rate it as okay, 2 out of 5 stars. It's really not crazy. Once you get enough damage, you can drop your SRS and just leave. But it's a little rough early. Not like anything crazy rough, but it's pretty meh. Bossing, 4 out of 5 stars. I mean, you just drop your dudes, they go hit them, you get temp chance, and you'll slow them. Good bossing for sure. Really good at Sanctum. The Bama builds above should be good at Sanctum too. SSF gear time, give it 2 stars. There's like a lot of uniques you're gonna want that are not very SSF friendly. The Covenant, you're probably never seeing that. The unique Bestial Amanamus or whatever, you're probably never seeing that. It'll take you a little bit to get your United in Dream Sword. That is very easily SF farmable, but it might take you a couple days. Overall, still doable, still very doable. Still fine SSF build, but is probably lower than the other things on here. You'll need to get all your poison jewels. Long-term scalability. So I give it 3 stars for the fact that you're going poison, so you're going to hit a dot cap. It doesn't take that long to hit your dot cap. And you don't have much opportunity to get super tanky on Necro. If you wanted a more long-term scalability build, well, that one would be a starter. Never mind. Yeah. 3 out of 5 stars. 3 out of 5 stars for overall, too. Solid all around. Not something I really considered until literally like 3 hours ago. So, yeah, but it should be good. And that is about it, and I somehow took 31 minutes on this video. Holy YouTuber syndrome. Subscribe and stuff.